Okay, so I've been having a very bad case of the Mondays, and I figured that the only medicine for that cure is to do a very belated Blu-ray and DVD up. And before I start, I just want to share two quick things with you guys. First off, the reason why I was on hiatus for the past 2 weeks or so, since the Amazing Spider-Man review I did, leading up to the Dark Knight Rises one I put out a few days ago, that was because I had been through a lot of stuff, including Comic-Con and a lot of family situations in addition, but now I'm officially back, so let's move on with this. And the second thing that I want to let you guys know before I end up starting you all the titles that I picked up within the last almost 2 months or so, damn, I cannot believe it's been that long since I've last done one of these, is that some of these date all the way back to Memorial Day weekend when I bought these, so just go with it right here. First title up is a Criterion I purchased a while ago, and I heard that if you are a die-hard film fan or want to be a filmmaker in the future, that this is a must-watch for anyone in that category, and that is Brian De Palma's Blowout. In the movie, John Travolta plays this sound effects man that believes he accidentally recorded a political assassination in the works, and the villain in this movie is played by none other than the great John Lithgow. I'm really looking forward to this because Brian De Palma is one of the greatest directors of all time. This is a movie that really hit nearly every film fan scene because not only did it work as a very great Hitchcockian thriller, but also for the fact that if you were an aspiring filmmaker, you got to learn so much at how tedious the sound effects process is. Ironically though, I still have not watched this movie yet, even though I sound like I'm praising it already, but I will get to it soon because I heard it has one of John Travolta's best performances in it too. Next up are two Steelbooks that I picked up during the Best Buy Steelbook sale a long time ago, and I figured I'd show both of these because they pertain to one big trilogy in particular, and that is Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. For Batman Begins, it's easily one of the best origin story superhero movies I've seen because it takes very careful amount of time in order to develop the character of Bruce Wayne and how fragmented his past is, but also to show how he trained with Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, and how it helped build him up to creating the Batman icon. Christian Bale is fantastic in this film, as with all the other actors that are in this film, most notably Morgan Freeman, Gary Oldman, and Michael Caine. But this is the movie that really showed director Christopher Nolan's early chops of being one of the best working directors today, because not only can he make a superhero movie that actually feels realistic at times, but also because it focuses on a crime saga in particular of how Batman has to combat all the organized crime that happens in the city. This is a very great watch. I haven't seen it in a while, but I had to pick it up because it was a Steelbook and that it's Christopher Nolan, of course. So nonetheless, I'm definitely looking forward to watching this again in the future, especially after The Dark Knight Rises release too. As for The Dark Knight though, I don't really think I have to put many words into why I bought this because it's one of the greatest movies that I've seen in my life and easily my favorite of director Christopher Nolan's. Wait, I take that back. Memento is my favorite Christopher Nolan film. How can you not love this film? It really propelled Batman to new heights when he had to combat the Joker, played by immaculate effect by Heath Ledger. It is one of the greatest superhero movie performances I've ever seen, possibly even the greatest. In addition, I'll share a fun fact that this is in my top 30 favorite movies of all time. It's either 29th or 30th. I can't quite put my finger on it. So really, even by saying those very few words, I don't really think I have to say anymore for how great this film is. Next up are the first two seasons of a TV show that I just got into, and the second season I'm still going through, but the first season was one of the funniest and kind of dark things that I have seen, but it really is propelling the new level to the show about nothing. I mean, Seinfeld has got nothing on for how far this shows, and that is seasons 1 and 2 of Louie. The reason why I say that this show really is the show about nothing is because at least Seinfeld had episodic plots going for it that lasted for about 30 minutes or so. In Louie, especially in the first season, it's more like segments, but at the same time, they demonstrate instances of real life that a lot of people can relate to, and the stuff that runs through Louie's writing whenever he's portraying the character on screen, it really hits close to how he is in real life or how he views certain things in the world, and the way that he exhibits them on screen is just either mesmerizing, dark, or hilarious at times. The way he can balance all these together is just perfect. I haven't gone completely through the second season yet, but I will say that it starts off a lot more darker than the first one does, but nonetheless, this is a genius dramedy show that needs a lot more viewers to it because even though it's doing great on FX, I feel like if this show can get a higher viewership, it will end up propelling it to the new heights of the genre that it's already fallen into. But this is one of the boldest, most creative, and hilarious shows I've ever seen. If you watch this solely for his stand-ups, you will not be disappointed. Next up is a movie that's one of my favorite comedies for this year. In fact, it's almost a three-way tie for how I'd rank my comedies so far this year in the top 3 scale, and that is 21 Jump Street. Both Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum are hilarious in this movie. They have great chemistry with one another, and they banter off each other very well, and it is very hilarious in the scenes in which they do that, of course. And I was really surprised because I didn't even think this movie would be that funny, but it really was, and it had a great supporting cast to back it up too, including one very great cameo, might I add. I'm not gonna say its name though. Even with seeing this movie a third time, it still has not lost its touch for being one of the funniest movies this year because it takes the whole buddy cop genre and also the cliches in action movies, and they make fun of them with such great effect that I found myself laughing continuously from them. Next is a very belated pickup of mine because I meant to buy this movie months ago, but I was so broke at the time that I just had to wait up until this moment, and that is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Now, in an ironic twist, I do have the original Mission Impossible trilogy Blu-ray set, yet I have not watched them yet I've seen this probably 3 times or so. This is one of the best action movies of the current decade so far because it is so self-aware of what it's trying to do, and it just relishes within these very grand action sequences, especially for when Ethan Hunt has to climb the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. I mean, that scene, I was on the edge of my seat from how dangerous the scope of it was. And for one of the greatest figures working in animation, director Brad Bird did a phenomenal job with this live-action transformation into making this movie. I think he did a great job with all the actors and really sold me on the action sequences, which were all great and very thrilling at the same time. I do promise, though, that I will watch the other Mission Impossible movies, but from how entertaining this one was, I feel like the only one that could really rank up to it is either the first or third one, because everybody has mixed opinions about the second, but nonetheless, I will watch the 3 others at some point, but this is still a great one without a doubt. And finally, my last 2 pickups that I made are for a show that I've desperately wanted to get into for a long time, and I just started the first season a few days ago. I'm already halfway through it, and it's quickly turning into one of my favorite shows as well, and that is Spartacus, the first season Blood and Sand, and the 6-part prequel series Gods of the Arena. Blood and Sand is the series that made the famed former New Zealand actor Andy Whitfield, who passed away last year. This is the show that made him the star, and I cannot complain with that because he is so charismatic and so buff in the role of Spartacus, in which he just kicks endless amounts of ass in nearly every episode in the show. This show strives to be historically accurate while also portraying Rome in the light of graphic sex, lots of nudity, and tons of cussing at the same time, but it relishes within that sort of entertainment that you get from it because it wants to be a portrayal of not only the historical drama of ancient Rome, but also show off the exploitation of it at the same time, and this show does it in one of the most uniquely genius ways that I've seen in my life. I give high props to creator Stephen Nesta Knight for following through with the series. He's quickly turning into one of my biggest TV inspirations because he also worked in the Whedonverse for a while on shows like Angel and Dollhouse, and this is very solid for its first several episodes. However, it's not until the 6th episode is where it really propels itself to the new heights of where the show can go in its directions, and from that point of where I'm at right now, I am really psyched to follow through with it and also get to Gods of the Arena right after. So those are all the Blu-rays and DVDs I have to show off for you guys. I'm going to be seeing an early screening of the new comedy The Watch on Tuesday night, so my review will either be out late that night or Wednesday the next day. So in the meantime, I'm talking from CaliCritic Reviews, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.